and Google Photos suggested he was her person. Google does this cute thing where it tries to remember your life for you. Little cards appear on your phone like a polite but nosy aunt. On this day, best of last year, rediscover this smile. I've trusted it to tag sunsets and street food and my friends, children with frosting on their cheeks. I did not ask it to decide who my girlfriend loved. The card arrived on a Tuesday around lunch. My phone buzzed and showed a collage titled, with the chill of an algorithm that doesn't know what a cliff is, You and Leo. Underneath were 9 squares, us in the kitchen, us at the beach, us reflected in a shop window where the world looked kinder. Except us wasn't us. It was Claire in all the frames, yes, her braid, that jaw I could pick out of a lineup of saints, but the man beside her was not me. He was tall in the way competence can be tall, dark hair, a smile that believed in itself. In one photo, they stood in a hotel mirror with a city behind them that certainly wasn't ours. In another, he'd leaned in to bite a cherry from her fingers like the kind of cliché you forgive when you're young. I tapped the info icon and the machine offered me truth like a receipt. Location tags, time stamps, a neat list of where and when my life had been edited without me. I spent a minute arguing with the screen like it could unnotify me. Then I did what men in movies do when they've been told the plot. I kept directing like the scene would obey. I finished the sandwich on my desk. I approved the cut in my inbox. I replied to a client with the exact right amount of fake cheer. My hands kept showing up for work as if my heart hadn't just learned a new verb. At 3, I texted Claire, "Dinner. I'm thinking the place with the calamari like lace." She answered fast, "God yes, I need a win." At 6, I walked home through a city that had the nerve to be beautiful. Our apartment smelled like jasmine tea and lemon cleaner. Claire sat at the table with her laptop open, and a face like someone who's been living in better lighting than yours. "You look good," I said, which was true and unhelpful. She closed the laptop and smiled at me like a person who appreciates a compliment for what it is. We kissed, the kind you give each other to mark an evening safe. My hands knew exactly where her waist begins. Her mouth knew exactly where my day ends. The body remembers even when the head is busy making charts. Over grilled calamari and a wine we pretend not to Google, we talked about the parts of our lives that can be told politely. Her bosses knew lean into excellence, obsession, like a cult with stock options. My client who wanted the skyline brighter because honesty sells poorly. She reached under the table and squeezed my knee the way she does when she wants me to remember we have a private language. I had planned a speech. It had an arc, and I'd practiced it against a kindness I hoped would be scalable. It dissolved when the waiter set the lemon next to us and Claire said, casually, "Leo is back in town next month. We might grab coffee to clear the air." She said it in the tone of voice you use when you're telling someone you're thinking of moving a plant. "Leo," I said, careful. She winced. "That came out wrong." "It came out like a card on my phone," I said, and watched the air change shape between us. "Google made us a memory today. You and Leo. Tetwan in March. The mirror at the cantilever. Your green dress." Her mouth opened and closed like a hinge that had been used gently and still complained. "I didn't know it did that," she said, which is a sentence about many things. "Do you love him?" I didn't raise my voice. I've learned the quiet questions are the ones that make the floor useful. "I don't know," she said, quick, honest, cruel. "I know I've been loving you while wanting something else I couldn't name. He gave it a name and I hated that it fit. We didn't throw anything. We didn't perform tragedy for the other tables. I paid. She thanked me. On the walk home, a couple with matching sneakers practiced being newly engaged without blocking traffic. I felt like a man passing an audition for a role he never wanted. At the apartment, the Google Photos card still sat on my lock screen, like a child waiting to be shown off. I turned the phone face down and set it on the shelf. I don't want to be a detective, I said. I want to be a person who knows where his home is. I didn't want to be a liar, she said. I wanted to be someone who could have complicated feelings and still pick a good life. I didn't notice when picking turned into hiding. Then we choose, I said. But we choose with ugly light, not with hotel mirrors. She nodded and looked like relief hurts, which it does. A month, she said. You at your brother, me at Maya's, therapy, no Leo, no heroics. And then we decide whether we're builders or archivists, I said. And we don't pretend the archives are sexy. She laughed, and it was a real sound in a room that had been rehearsing for court. We packed. She took the sweater that makes me polite and the black dress that makes the world do math. I took the plant we still hadn't named, and a book with a dumb cover that has taught me more about staying than any saint. At the door, we kissed the way you sign for a delivery you cannot refuse. It was warm and clear and stopped before it promised something morning would resent. Liam, my brother, lives in a one-bedroom that feels like a couch had a dream. He handed me a beer and a blanket, and did that older sibling thing where men talk about terrible events with sports metaphors and never say the correct noun out loud. I slept under his ceiling fan, which made an honest noise like a machine trying to be weather. In the morning, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. This is Leo, the message said. I heard you saw the photos. I'm not asking for absolution. I'm asking if you want coffee so I can be a person and not a file name. I stared at the text and hated that politeness can be interesting. I wrote back, one coffee, the bench by the canal with the lopsided geese. He arrived with 2 cups and a posture like he'd already apologized to 3 other people that morning. He was less winning up close, or maybe I'm stingy. He sat on the tilted bench like he deserved the wobble. I won't sell you on a story, he said. Narratives are how people like me excuse themselves. I just want to say I didn't plan to love her. Nobody plans to love anyone worth it, I said. It's not a calendar invite. He swallowed. I'm stepping out, he said. She didn't ask me to. I owe myself a version of me that doesn't require other people to make difficult choices. Switch gyms, I said, and he blinked in confusion. And jobs, at least teams. Move the geography so she doesn't trip on it. He nodded slowly. Okay, he said, okay. We shook hands not because we were fine, but because civilization is how some of us avoid arson. When he left, the canal did its best impression of depth and failed. Therapy was exactly what therapy promises. Questions that felt like crystals you cannot climb and then suddenly are on top of. The chairs were ugly enough to disarm my defenses. Claire and I took turns building sentences that didn't expect applause. I liked how he listens and doesn't try to solve me, she said. I liked how you can be quiet without punishing me, I said. I wanted to be a different person than I am, she said. I keep trying to be the man who won't be surprised by grief, I said. We cried a little and drank water that tasted like discipline, and then we went home to our separate beds because dignity sometimes lives in distance. The second week, I met Myra, the woman who always seems to be standing in the doorway of these kinds of months. I was in line at a dumpling place where the kindness is generous and the receipt is long. She dropped her wallet. I pretended to be a person who always notices that sort of thing and handed it back. She smiled, and it had the weary radiance of women who have survived someone else's sequences. We ended up at the counter comparing scars like people who'd read the same book and underlined different parts. She told me her ex-husband had told the truth 1 week too late and now everything was late. I told her Google had made me a rivalry collage. She didn't gasp. She didn't advise. She said, "Sometimes the machine is only rude because we've been polite to something we should have confronted." We started walking, Myra and I, not to a destination, around the block, past the bridge that believes in itself, through the park where pigeons behave like retired men. We practiced the easy sport of telling the truth to someone who can't weaponize it. Once, under a streetlight that made us briefly beautiful, we kissed. It was the kind of kiss that belongs to daylight, not a theft, not revenge. My hand learned the slope of her shoulder by asking. Her breath found a place near my ear and decided to like it. We stopped because we both enjoy respect. It was erotic anyway, and the way consent always is. Claire and I kept meeting on Sundays in public spaces with fluorescent honesty. We added a ritual to the ritual. 2 questions. When did you want to run, and when did you want to stay? She told me she wanted to run when her boss admitted he doesn't know how to end meetings. She wanted to stay when she imagined me reading on the couch with the plant pretending to be a forest. I told her I wanted to run when I saw a man in a green shirt who moved like a confession. I wanted to stay when I pictured us old, not bored but good at quiet. On day 25, Leo texted again. "I moved teams, not a grand gesture, a better hallway. If she chooses you, it won't be in my shadow. If she doesn't, it won't be because I was standing where you needed light." I didn't reply. He hadn't asked me to. On day 28, my brother's wife informed me she missed the use of her couch and that love was welcome to occur elsewhere next month. I took the hint and booked a cheap room at a business hotel that sells forgiveness by the night. Claire and I met there not to enact anything but to be off stage. We didn't undress. We lay on the bed across the calm width of a duvet like two people who own better versions of their own bodies than before. We kissed until the room thought we were young, then stopped and laughed like old people who are proud to be decent. At the end of the month, we stood in our kitchen and made a decision under light that flatters nothing. "Rebuild," she said. "Rebuild," I said. "No monuments, no grand scenes. Let's make Tuesday heroic." We set rules that looked like grocery lists. Boredom allowed. Honesty tax paid weekly. If one of us wants applause more than the other, say so and eat a snack. No rooms without windows. If the machine makes a memory we aren't in, we tell each other before it has to. We make the bed. The erotics of rebuilding are ordinary and specific. Her hand on my wrist while she reaches for oregano. My mouth on her temple while a pot simmers toward forgiveness. The warm strip of skin at her waist when my fingers find it under a t-shirt and stop, because love can be measured by restraint as well as hunger. We keep it where morning nods. We let nights be brave without borrowing from tomorrow's rent. Myra and I kept walking because affection doesn't have to burn to be valuable. We sent each other photos of benches at 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. to prove light changes the same object until the object has no idea which version is true. Her texts were small, useful, unsentimental. "Drink water. Don't confuse drama for urgency. Buy socks you like. Be kind to your elbows." One afternoon, Google Photos offered me a new card. "Rediscover this place." It was the kitchen. Claire at the stove, me in the doorway, the plant actually thriving for once. The algorithm had found a moment that had never asked to be art and gave it a border. I showed it to Claire and we laughed. "We're content now," she said. "The machine has taste." Leo sent a final message I will allow here only because grace has a better memory than pride. "I'm here if friends are allowed. If not, I will stop imagining that my desire deserves a part in your play." I asked Claire what she wanted. She said she wanted us not to turn our lives into a touring production. I told Leo thank you and goodbye. Civility isn't weakness. It's the kind of strength you can carry to the store. If you need an ending, I can only give you present tense. We are trying. Google still makes albums of dogs we once promised to adopt and sunsets we misinterpreted as omens. Sometimes my phone shows me her face next to a man in a reflection, and my body interprets it as danger until my brain reminds it that I am in the frame, and the mirror is a liar. Sometimes she sees a green shirt on a stranger and squeezes my hand like a code that means I'm here on purpose. We named the plan at last. We called it Keep because it was both instruction and place. Keep showing up, keep turning toward light, keep the room where you promised to meet. On Sundays, we sit on the floor with our backs against the couch and practice boredom at high volume. I ask when she wanted to run. She tells me. She asks when I wanted to be someone else. I answer. We kiss because we want to like the taste of honesty in each other's mouths. We stop because the stopping is ours too. Google will keep trying to narrate us. That's its job. Ours is to learn which stories deserve borders and which belong to the parts of our life that don't photograph well but pay every bill. Last night, while we were cooking, my phone buzzed with a new card. Smiles from this spring. In it, there we were on a bench beside a canal with geese that refused to obey. Claire was leaning into the picture and I was looking at her like she was the answer to a question I wasn't smart enough to ask. I saved it. Then I set the phone down face down, slid my hand under her shirt to find the edge of her warmth, and said, without a soundtrack, "I love this part." She turned, kissed me slow, and replied, "Then let's keep it."